Upon opening the August Metalhead box, I can see that it's a rebound from the July Metalhead box, which some people found rather disappointing. And this is because there are a lot of people and bands now that can't respect deadlines, and it really sucks. So the box had to leave out the shirts, which a lot of people were pretty pissed about, but this time, they have a shirt. Actually, this is a much simpler box, containing only the things that I truly care about. No frills, no notebooks, any of that. They have the shirts, the CDs, the autograph. Totally awesome. So here I am to discuss it all. And we start off with Memorial, Enter My Megaron. What a weird fucking name for an album. Anyway, they're black metal from South Holland. The sound is rather cult, with early Immortal meets Darkthrone, even throwing in a couple of acoustic passages. It's a pretty good sounding album, but honestly my big point for owning this would be so that way I can say that I own black metal from the Netherlands. Good stuff though. Then we have a Swedish death metal album by a band called Wreckage, the album being Rise from Ruins. And if this band wanted to get into my good graces with the two covers that they have on the album, they sure as hell did it. They have a cover of I Master from Entombed, and they have a cover of Twisted Master Burnt Decay by Autopsy. Two bands that I am totally obsessed with. Oh yeah, so the album starts off with a high pass filter, making you think that it has really shitty production, but about 15 seconds in, it blasts you with the real production. Wow, what a nice element of surprise! It's a good album. It's a good, newer Swedish death metal album, so you should go listen to it. And here we have a brutal death metal album from a band called Debodified. This came out in 2003, and guess what? These guys were from Charlotte, North Carolina. It's a shame they're not around anymore, but the fact that they're from North Carolina, that kind of explains the low-resolution band picture on the back. Only in North Carolina. Anyway, the album's called Utopia in the Eyes of a Beast, and it's obviously influenced by bands such as Suffocation and Nile. And you can clearly see in the thank yous of the album that they credit these bands. The CG artwork can only indicate that the album was a product of its time. But, for what it is, it's enjoyable. But like I said, it's a shame that these guys aren't around anymore because it would be nice to hear them play with False Prophet or Keros or Outlier, you know? Then we have a 2-disc death and black metal album by a band called Samith Nor. This is a band that reigns from Poland, only this band isn't currently being investigated by the police. Limits Were to Be Broken contains 2 of their albums, Anhedonia and Beyond the Limits. I personally enjoy the second disc a lot more, Anhedonia. Also, if you put both the CDs in the computer, they come with music videos. Musically, they're a blend of technical death metal as well as Satyricon-style black metal. They even have the symphonic moments to back it up. Beyond the Limits is okay, but I can say that Anhedonia is an album that's focused and has a lot of good replay value. And here we have a CD with a gnarly lineup. And what's the lineup? Holy shit! It's Abscess meets Nuclear Assault meets Necrophagia. Holy hell. It starts slow, and then you hear the Reifert scream, and then you hear the Killjoy scream, and it's just totally awesome. Now, the blast beat in the beginning probably could have been more effective had the sample happened later, but hey, it's pretty cool. It's slow and dirgy, and it reminds me of Autopsy. It reminds me a lot of Abscess because it's very muddy, very slow, very weird, rather psychedelic, and that's a good thing. There are so many samples on this album that it's weird even by Abscess standards. I mean, that's Killjoy's fingerprints right there. Some people may find it slow, but I fucking love it. Now, admittedly, it's nowhere near as good as the first album, but, I mean, this is an album where you have to listen to it a couple of times just to get into the atmosphere of it. Plus, it's also very welcoming to hear a Danny Corrales guitar solo, especially in August Underground. Next up, we have an autograph from one of my favorite vocalists from one of my favorite bands, Frank Mullen of Suffocation. Oh, yes. Now, we're probably going to hear a lot of, "Oh, it's just his initials. Oh, it's just a couple swiggly lines," just kind of like we did for the Carl Sanders picture a couple months ago, but this has Frank Mullen's fingerprints all over it, you know? I could dust it kind of like the FBI does, that way I can see the fingerprints. Now, I'm not going to do that, I'm just saying that I could. Now, if his job would allow him to tour more with the band, I'm sure that everybody would be very grateful. I mean, the stand-in singers are pretty good, they're just not Frank. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. Also an improvement for this month, there's no What's in Your Metalhead Box, because if you unbox the box, then you can already see what's in it without the flyer. Saves them a few cents along the way, but the one flyer we did get, for Pathology and Logic of Denial. Oh yeah, new albums by these guys. Oh, Pathology's pretty badass. I like Pathology. And now for this band, they're all standing on paint cans that have been covered over to avoid copyright reasons because they don't want to get sued by Lowe's, I guess. How badass. Now they need to crush the cans. As for the shirt, we have a shirt for Hades Almighty. You know, I've always really enjoyed the subtlety of the slight logo change from when they changed their name to Hades Almighty. You won't even notice it unless you look at it. There's lots of love for the Norway bands in this box. Now, maybe the new Vorbit LP can be featured at some point, whatever decade that gets released. I would like to thank everybody at the Metalhead Box for sending me these boxes, because it supports my metal habit and it cuts down on my clothing costs, because whenever I get shirts, they last me years. Anyway, I would also like to take this time to thank everybody for sending submissions of their animals for the Metal Pets video, and if you haven't watched that video, go do it. It's very cute. If there's enough demand for it, there might be a part 2, but don't hold your breath. I would definitely love to do more fan interactive videos like this. I just gotta think of some ideas. Anyway, got a couple new videos on the way. They're gonna be 2 videos. They're gonna be the same video, but one of them is gonna be a slightly different take on it. Stay tuned.